Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm continuing my Stephen King series, still working on all the stories from the huge Night Shift short story collection published in the 1970s. And in this video, I'm going to talk about Salems Lot. Salems Lot was the 44th published work by King, according to what I have. It's a novelette length work and was originally published in Night Shift, was not published elsewhere. And of course I have a nice copy of Night Shift, which I've shown before. I'm not going to take time to pull that out. And the first edition of Night Shift was published in hardcover by Doubleday on February 17th, 1978. It's considered to be a Cthulhu mythos story, but also Salems Lot. It's related to Salem's Lot, but very different from Salem's Lot, because Salem's Lot is all about vampires. Salem's Lot is basically a modern retelling of Dracula, with vampires coming to this town called Salems Lot, which for short people call Salem's Lot. So in this story, it's just being called Salems Lot. I'm trying to remember the timing exactly. I think this one comes after the events of Salem's Lot. And this guy is just driving through Maine, and he stops in this town called Salems Lot, and he starts looking into things because he has an ancestral home there. His past relatives lived in Salems Lot, and so he's there to claim that home. And he finds himself getting drawn into the mysteries of the town, but the mysteries are different from the novel Salem's Lot. There's no vampires this time. Instead, what you get is a Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos horror living underground. Okay, and the thing I'm noticing about pretty much all of Stephen King's early work is you can see the influences of classic horror stories throughout. This one, obviously, and King isn't just copying, he's paying homage to all the horror stories that inspired him when he was growing up and reading this stuff. All the things that made him love horror, he was writing homages to. Like Salem's Lot is an homage to Dracula, The Shining to classic haunted house stories. Not sure about Carrie, but I've seen that in others of his stories. Like there's one where a guy is underground and runs into these rats. Well, Henry Kuttner's first story is about a guy that's trapped underground in a cemetery and it's full of rats. He was paying homage to all of the things that he loved and reworking them into more modern day Maine settings. And that's much of what, not all of his stories, but much of what he was doing in his early work was just having fun recasting his favorite stories in a modern vein. And this is no different. He's doing that with Lovecraft here in the Cthulhu mythos. He's writing, and everybody has. Even before King wrote Salems Lot, there were people that were writing Cthulhu mythos stories after Lovecraft died, starting, I think the first one would be August Derleth. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe somebody else beat Derleth to it, but Derleth was one of the early authors who continued the Cthulhu mythos in their own stories. And there's King doing it here. I found this story to be brilliant. I thought it was very creepy, very Lovecraftian, very much like a Cthulhu mythos story. I think anybody who loves King, anybody who loves early King stories, anybody who loves classic horror, anybody who loves Lovecraft, those are all the people that this story I think would be very well suited for, most likely. You know, the Lovecraftian especially, you have all the standard Lovecraft themes: the old house, a weird book, inbred people devoted to a twisted religion, and a terrifying family legacy. It's all in this story. All those things are typical Lovecraftian themes. I would recommend this to anybody that likes horror. If you don't like horror, you won't like it. But if you do like horror, you'll probably like this. It's a very good story. So, top tale. Have you read Jerusalem's Lot? If so, leave your comments in the comments section of this video. Otherwise, come on back. We're going to have a lot more Stephen King. I'm still in the 1970s. I'm still at 1978. So my next Stephen King is The Last Rung on the Ladder, which is another story from Night Shift. I hope you'll come back and join me for that, and a lot more Stephen King and a lot of other literary gems talked about here on Telltale Books.